Hi there, my name's Simon Drew, and welcome to the Practical Stoic Podcast, where I give you practical Stoic advice for modern times. You can support the show by going to patreon.com/Simon Drew. I also do one-on-one mindset coaching, and you can book in your first free consultation by going to risetothegoodlife.com/coaching. On Facebook, you can join my group, the Practical Stoic Mastermind. But for now, enjoy this episode. Hi there, and welcome to the Practical Stoic Podcast. I'm Simon Drew, and I'm excited to announce that this is the 100th episode of the show. And seeing as this is such a great milestone for the show and also for myself, I think that it's important that I share a few things that I'm grateful for, and then I'd like to share some goals with you all. You know, when I started the Practical Stoic Podcast, I had a few goals in mind. Firstly, I wanted to learn more about Stoicism as I taught, and that has definitely been the case. The other goals were simple. I simply wanted to release at least 2 episodes every single week, no matter what. And in those episodes, I wanted to help people to live better lives through the study and practice of Stoicism. When I started this podcast, I genuinely believed that Stoicism was one of the most powerful philosophies that could help a person to completely transform every single aspect of their life. And I can tell you now that after 100 episodes, I believe that now more than ever. Since starting the show, I've received emails and messages from people all around the world who have told me that Stoicism and this podcast have helped them to deal with depression, PTSD, relationship problems, health, and general mental wellness. Since I've started mindset coaching, I've met amazing people from all around the world, including the USA, Canada, Mexico, South Korea, Australia, South Africa, and Panama. And you know, I've built amazing relationships with so many incredible Stoics from all around the world. And I'd like to take this opportunity, in the 100th episode, to say thank you. I am genuinely grateful for all of you who have reviewed this podcast, shared the episodes, contributed in the Practical Stoic Mastermind on Facebook, and sent me messages of support. But most importantly, thank you to all of you who have actually applied the principles of Stoicism to your life, because this podcast would be absolutely useless if it didn't inspire you to actually take action. And you know, this is a milestone for me, however, I see it as only the beginning, and now I'd like to share a few goals with you for the next 100 episodes. Firstly, over the past few months, I've been receiving messages from people saying that they'd like to support the podcast in some way, but that they also didn't really necessarily feel like they wanted to do coaching. And as you all know, I don't do any advertising on this show, and I never want to. But before now, I didn't feel like it was the right time for me to set up any kind of patronage system for this podcast. But now that I have 100 episodes of what I believe to be life-changing content, I feel pretty good about launching my very own Patreon page. I've decided over the past few months that I want to spend considerably more time creating content like this podcast. And as you all know, I already pour so much time and effort into creating these episodes. And now I feel confident that those of you whose lives have been improved because of my work will support me in return. My Patreon page has many options for supporting the show, and each tier of support offers different benefits, such as a shout-out on the podcast, access to a monthly group webinar, or a personal one-on-one monthly Skype call. So if you've always wanted to support this work, then you can head to my Patreon page, which is patreon.com/Simon Drew. That's patreon.com/Simon Drew. There's also a link in the show notes that you can follow. Anything that you can pledge would be extremely helpful, and I'm so grateful to all of you who support me. My goal with my Patreon page is to supplement my income just enough so that I can justify spending more time creating life-changing content like podcasts, posts, books, and videos. And moving on to another goal that I have, I would like to soon release a book of the first 100 episodes. If you're anything like me, then you sometimes prefer to have things written down so that you can actually take notes and highlight your favorite passages. That's why I'd like to transcribe all of the first 100 episodes and interviews and then put them into a book. I think that this will be a valuable tool for many of you, and if you have any suggestions, then please contact me. And finally, my ultimate goal for the next 100 episodes is simply to remain consistent in providing you all with 3 episodes a week that can help you to live an amazing life. I know that as I do this, you will all help me to keep on going by reviewing the show, contacting me with your feedback, sharing episodes with those who you think may need them, and supporting my work through Patreon or other means. And on that note, I'd like to move into today's episode, which is actually a kind of review of the last few months. See, in all of my dealings with people who I coach, people who have messaged me, and people who have offered their own success stories, I've come to understand what it is that makes the difference in people's lives when they're trying to apply Stoic principles. And so today, in the 100th episode, I wanted to share a few things that I've noticed which will hopefully make the difference in your own study and practice of Stoicism. The first, and probably the most obvious point, is that people who see results are those who listen to the podcast and then immediately take action in their own life. I know that sometimes it's easy to just listen to a podcast and then move straight on to the next one without thinking about how to actually apply the information that you just heard. But that's not necessarily the most helpful way to listen to these podcasts. Sure, over time, if you listen to enough Stoic material, then you'll start to internalize the principles, and you may see some results. But true and lasting results only come as a result of discipline and consistent action. One example of this is with my episode about creating your own personal philosophy. Now, many of you, if not most of you, will have listened to that episode and simply moved on to the next one, ignoring my advice to take a few moments to actually write out your own personal philosophy. And if you didn't write out your personal philosophy, then you probably didn't get the results. And I can tell you that many people have messaged me saying that as a result of them doing that exercise, they have greater clarity, greater motivation, and a better vision of their ideal future because they know who they are and who they want to be and where they're falling short. In fact, I've received so much positive feedback from that exercise that it is now one of the first things that I prescribe to my coaching clients. So that's a perfect example of people who have listened to the show, taken action, and seen results. Another thing that makes a big difference in people's lives is simply being mindful. I've seen this with my clients, and I can tell you that the people who see the results are those people who are mindful throughout the day of the principles that they're learning. For example, if you've just listened to an episode about compassion, make an effort throughout your day to be mindful of your own compassion or lack of. You could set an alarm on your phone, you could write on a sticky note and put it on your computer, or you could simply decide to review your day. Whatever you do, as long as you're mindful of what you're trying to learn, why you're learning it, and how it can help you, that will be extremely beneficial for your future results. Our thoughts determine who we are and where we're going. And so if you're always thinking about how to employ compassion, for example, into your day, then you're soon going to become a compassionate person. The next thing that I wanted to talk about that makes the difference for people who are trying to live stoically is journaling. Journaling is an amazing tool for seeing results, and it's one of the habits that makes the biggest difference. I'll do an episode on journaling in the near future, but for now I'll let you know that there are many forms of journaling that can help you out. For example, if you're trying to be better every day, then I would recommend journaling based around 3 questions. First, what went well today and why? Second, what didn't go so well today and why? And third, what can I do to make tomorrow better? If you will consider these questions at the end of every single day, then there's no way that you won't start moving closer to being aligned with who you want to be. Another journaling technique which I use with my clients is specifically for changing perceptions. For example, if you're always looking at what's going wrong and you feel negative all the time, I would suggest starting a gratitude journal. It's very simple and its effects are profound. Every single day before you go to bed, write down 3 to 5 things that happened that day that you were grateful for. This only takes a couple of minutes, and if you can do this exercise every day, then soon your mind will be reprogrammed to look for the good more than the bad. I've seen this with many people who I've spoken to, and it works just about every time. Another journaling technique that is helpful is to journal in the moment. For example, if you find that you're always getting angry or frustrated, every time these emotions present themselves, take a moment to journal about what you're frustrated with. Ask the questions, what is bothering me? Why is it bothering me? What is the wrong response in this situation? And what is the right response? If you'll think about these questions and write down the answers, this will make a huge difference in the way that you respond, which is what's most important. So, journaling has definitely been a habit that has made a huge difference in people's lives. And the final thing that I believe makes a big difference is consistency and patience. No matter what habit you're trying to build, no matter how far you are into your Stoic journey, if you'll be consistent in your approach and patient in seeing results, I know that you'll eventually see amazing changes in your life, just like the many people who have messaged me since I've started this podcast. So those, in my opinion, are a few of the things that I believe will make the biggest difference for you. Taking action, being mindful, practicing journaling, and being consistent and patient. Obviously, there are so many other elements that go into making new habits and changing your life, but these are just some of the most common in my view. And on that note, I'd like to thank you for listening to this podcast, and I'm grateful that you've listened right on up to the 100th episode. Thank you for your support, and thank you for inspiring me to keep on putting out this content every single week. I'd like to encourage you to take action on what you hear in these episodes, because ideas are good, but implementation of good ideas is even better. Remember that you cannot see true and lasting results without consistent and mindful application. Once again, if you do enjoy these podcasts and if you'd like to support the show, then you can go to patreon.com/Simon Drew or follow the link in the show notes. Your support is absolutely appreciated, and I look forward to providing you with hundreds of new episodes in the near future. I'll talk to you next time, but until then, I hope that this episode has helped you on your rise to the good life. Ciao. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Practical Stoic Podcast. I hope it's been valuable for you, and if you'd like to support the show, then you can go to patreon.com/Simon Drew. If you'd like to try mindset coaching with me, then you can book your first free consultation by going to risetothegoodlife.com/coaching. To join the community, just go to Facebook and search for the Practical Stoic Mastermind. The links to all of these places are included in the show notes, but for now, this is Simon Drew signing out.